If you love playing Barbarian and PvP in Diablo 4, this build is for you. This is the most absurd, unkillable Barbarian build. It annoys people, it's super fun to use, and I'm going to break it down for you right now. Let's get started. This is hands down the best PvP Diablo 4 build for Barbarian that I have created. Let's go. So first of all, guys, we're going to go over the skills before we go over the gear. This is a basic attack build. What you are going to want to do is you are going to want to put 5 points into lunging strike, then 1 point into enhanced, and then you're going to want to put 1 point into critical strikes with lunging strike, grant you berserking. This build, we have 100% uptime on berserking. You have it all of the time. We then want to have 1 point into ground stomp to stun enemies. We want to have 3 points into additional maximum life. We want 1 point into rallying cry, 1 point into enhanced, and then 1 point into rallying cry grants you 10% base life as fortify. Now you don't actually really have to have this. I just have it because I had an extra point left. You can do without this if you want to put the point somewhere else. We then have iron skin, and you want to have this enhanced as well. And then you also want to have the tactical iron skin. This is really important. I have 2 points into outburst. You can put 1 if you like. 1 is enough because all we want to do is we just want to get the tough as nails, at least 1 into tough as nails. So when enemies hit us, they get bleeding damage. We then have challenging shout. This is for damage reduction. And we have challenging shout enhanced because this gives us 20% more life when we're doing challenging shout. And then we get 30% more thorns equal to maximum life with the strategic challenging shout. Down here, we have a Warcry. We're using Warcry. And then we are using Warcry grants you berserking. You don't actually need this if you want to put the points somewhere else because we are going to be berserking with critical strikes. However, it does help when just getting, if you want to get berserking straight away. I have 2 points into booming voice. You can put 1 into this, but the reason we want booming voice is because we want 3 points into raid leader. This means that when you do your shouts, you actually heal. So it says heals allies. You count as an ally, so I will get 3% maximum health per second of my health per second. This is important for damage reduction, aggressive resistance, 9% when berserking. I have 2 points into movement speed. I have 3 points into slaying strike. I have 3 points into no mercy. And then I have pit fighter, 3 points into pit fighter. I have 1 point into hamstring. Now this used to be, this isn't as effective anymore because it's only to healthy enemies now. It used to be to enemies with any health. So this isn't as effective, but I still use it because I have slow damage. Each time you take direct damage, you gain fortify, 3 points into that. Now this down here is where this build really shines. 3 points into attack speed with one-handed weapons. This is important for this build. This build is all about speed. 3 points into this one. And then this is important, okay? Skills using bludgeoning weapons have 30% chance to stun enemies for 3 seconds. This is a stun lock build, essentially. That is all we're doing, and it works really well. So 3 points into that, maximize that. And then we have this one here. So that's the skill tree. Now I'm going to go over the gear, and you'll see how it all kind of ties in with each other. I'm using bludgeoning maces. This is so we can stun people, okay? But let's start at the top. With the headpiece, strength, dex, and maximum life, and I have 9.6% basic skill attack speed. You want to have as much attack speed as you possibly can. This piece here, strength, max health, total armor, and then 49% poison resistance for those rogue builds you're going to come up against. Now keep in mind, what a lot of people have been doing is putting poison resistance on 2 pieces. There is no point in doing that because because there's diminishing returns. So if I have this 49% and I go and put on another 40%, I actually only get another 10% increase. The glove, critical strike chance, dexterity and strength again, and then once again, attack speed. Oh, sorry, I forgot the aspects. We need to go over these. So basic skill grants 10% damage reduction. Essentially, when we spam our basic skill, we get a 20% damage reduction, and it's up all of the time, as long as we are smashing those lunging strikes. You gain 0.4% increased armor for 4 seconds. This is really useful. And then we have a 20% increased crowd control duration. While enemies are unstoppable, you deal 34% more damage. Super important, this one. Now, we have Thorns, Maximum Life, Berserking Duration. Now, Berserking Duration isn't too important. You don't really need that, so this piece isn't optimized just yet. And then we have Damage Reduction. Iron Skin grants Unstoppable for 24% damage reduction. So that's insane. We have 2 unstoppable skills that we can use. So if we go back to our skills, we have Iron Skin that now gives us Unstoppable, and we also have Rallying Cry that gives us Unstoppable as well. Really good to have those 2 on. Now, with the boots, slow duration reduction, all stats and strength and movement speed. I would like a better piece here, but this isn't too bad. Direct damage against bleeding enemies has a chance to stun them. Really important. We want to stun enemies. That's the point of this build. This has damage to bleeding, damage to stun, damage to close, and vulnerable damage. Very good piece here. Basic skills gain 60% attack speed. This is insane. It's very fast. And then we also have basic skill damage gems. Let's go over to this one. Pretty standard stuff here. Basic skill damage, damage to close, critical strike damage. Whenever you deal damage against berserking, inflict 20% of your base damage as bleed. This is important because if we give bleed to enemies, they go slower if they're healthy, and we also do a lot of bleed damage, just in case the enemies don't hit you first and get that thorns bleed. This one here, we have strength, basic skill damage again, very important, and then gain thorns while berserking. I really like this one because basically enemies can explode if they are low health. And then obviously the basic damage gems as well. Basic damage gems again, damage to slow, damage to close, basic skill damage again, damage to bleeding enemies. Skills deal up to 36% increased damage based on your available primary resource. So your available primary resource is down here, which is Fury. Now, when you're using lunging strikes, this fills up really quickly and you don't use any of it. So that, when it's full, that gives us a straight 36% damage buff. Okay, now let's get into some of the other stuff here. This is really important. We have damage to bleeding, physical damage, damage while berserking. If you can't tell, this is a massive damage build. And then we have damage to close. Distant enemies have a chance to be stunned for 2 seconds while they are hit. Now the reason I have this on is because you deal 14% straight damage to stunned enemies. Not really optimal for this build. I will be changing that out. This one is important. Your skills have... Okay, so your skills have a chance to knock down enemies for 1.2 seconds if the basic attack speed is higher than 20%. Now this is actually bugged. So because this has basic skill attack speed 60%, I thought that's how it worked. You actually have to have this. Let me have a look here. You actually have to have your attack speed above the specific amount or it doesn't work. So as you can see, I have my attack speed higher than 20% and it knocks down enemies. This is really good. So we're stunning them, knocking them down. This one here is so insane. Okay, so we've got critical strike chance, critical strike damage, maximum life, damage, physical damage. Now, if you look at this malignant heart down here, you go through 3 separate things. You can gain 24% attack speed, you can gain a barrier, or you can gain devious, which doesn't really matter. But you can gain 24% attack speed on top of. So let me show you what that looks like with all of the maximum attack speeds on this build. Alright, so you see this little sword down here? Your attack speed is increased by 24% now. Plus, we have a lot of attack speed on our gear. This is nuts. Or you can do the barrier one, which is really good as well. You'll randomly just get a barrier. So let me show you how fast it is. And then I actually have another Paragon board thing that's even faster when I get crits. So watch this. Now, it's not very good at mobbing, but it's pretty devastating in PvP. So that's how that works, and it's super good. But it changes, it rotates out on 20 kills, so you just have to make sure you've still got that speed on there, or barrier is good as well, just not as much speed. All right, the next one. Now, I do want to change this out, but the reason I have this is for one reason only. We get a 60% nearly basic skill damage straight off the bat. We get 11% damage reduction, and then we get another damage reduction from injured. Now, 3 ranks of Frenzy is useless with this one, and so is the Frenzy Maximum. However, the Heart deals 4,000 damage to surrounding enemies whenever a crowd control effect is removed. This is nuts. I'll try and put something on the screen right now that shows you how this works. So if you're getting smashed with like ice, all sorts of crowd control, this can literally just keep going and destroy enemies alone. It's like a little bomb that goes on around you. That's really cool, and it works extremely well. So I think that's all of the gear covered. It's not 100% optimized, but it's pretty good, and I can take on level 80 to 100s at my level right now. Super easy, not even a problem. So now let's get into expertise. We have the vulnerable damage as the normal one, and then on one-handed maces, increased damage to stunned and double when using 2 maces. So that works really well with our build. Paragon board is quite complex. Let me just go over this real quick, because it's a little bit different to what we usually do. Now, when it comes to tankiness, this build is, you do get smashed up sometimes pretty quickly because it's mainly about damage. But so you want to put some skills into like maximum life and stuff like that. That's quite important. Some points. But we have the usual vulnerable damage here. I have some life, some armor as well here. We go up. One thing that I'm using in this is damage while berserking. Okay, because our berserking uptime is pretty much all the time. I have a lot of damage while berserking. And then I also have, while berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed by 2% up to 8%. So essentially, your attack speed, you get more attack speed when you're hammering guys. And then we have more berserking damage. We have a little bit more health here and stuff. Damage reduction. We have 87% damage to close enemies, which is insane, and 10% reduction. We have more berserking damage, and then we have what's this one? Damage to bleeding as well. And then as we come down here, more berserking damage over here. We come down here, and I'm going into some more physical damage and health with this one, which I'm trying to get my health up a little bit, and I've stopped there. So these are my stats. I'll just go through them quickly with you. Attack speed bonus, that is from attack speed bonus is now 48% because we have that 24 bonus on top. Critical strike damage is 122. I've heard things that there's a 100% cap on PvP, 150% cap, and a 200% cap. So I stick to around about 100, and that works really well for me. We have 92% vulnerable damage. Damage versus release doesn't matter because it's actually bugged on PvP. Damage to slowed is 64. You want to keep that kind of low now since they changed that. Damage to stunned is 52. Damage to close, this is the one you want up there, 304. Damage to healthy. Damage D 167. Damage while berserking 132. Physical damage 148. This is the big one here, boys. Damage with basic is 366%. That is massive. Even without the amulet, you can get it over 300. So that is the build, guys. This is my PvP build that I've been absolutely dominating with. Essentially, it's just a one-trigger spam build. You literally don't have to do anything. You just spam it. And then you've got all of your defenses, shouts, all of that stuff. And you can just button smash if you want. Now, if you look down here, watch this one here. So you're constantly getting that damage reduction 20% straight up just by holding the trigger down. So if you want a brain dead build, this is the build. I'll see you guys in the next video.